This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Shalom Aleichem, good morning. Welcome to our viewers on Torah Anytime as well. And when we're mentioning Torah Anytime, the Chashuv Arav, Moshe Meir ben Esther Fedel, who is the speaker on Torah Anytime, and I was requested to dedicate the shir for his Refuah Shelema Imetz Hashem Esoch Sha'al Choyle Yisrael. Also, we'll dedicate the shir for Atzlacha Av Ben Zion Ben Dosa, him and his family. Parashas Shelach. We had a lot of inyanim to cover. Imetz Hashem with some wild halachic shayles, riddles, stories, and different things. Vayadaber Hashem el Moshe Lemo, Shlach Anashim. Did I miss anything? Shlach Lecha. What do you mean Lecha? Shlach Anashim, and they should tour the land. What do you mean Shlach Lecha? Say both the Moshe Zkenim and Rabbi Yonasan Eifshitz and Tiferes Yonasan. Rashi explains in Lech Lecha. So Lech Lecha is Lehana'ascha Leitovascha. It's for you, for your own benefit. Shlach Lecha Anashim, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because you know what's going to happen as a result? All of you guys are going to get stuck in the desert for 40 years. And in Mede, you're going to live for another 40 years. Because it was a Gezerah, Moshe can't come into the land. So the only way for you to continue living is to stay outside the land. Mimele, this whole business, Shlach Lecha, is going to benefit one person. You, Moshe. Shlach Lecha Anashim, because you're going to get to live extra 40 years as a result. Moshe Zkenim al Torah, Ba'al HaTosfos. Kli Yakar has many different pirushim. Both of them so gorgeous, but they contradict themselves. But elu va'elu, divrei Elokim chai. Shlach Lecha Anashim, not Nashim, Anashim. Send the men, don't send the women. What do you have against women? Don't have anything against them. But there's a Gemara in Kiddushin, Daf Mem Tes Amud Beis. 10 kabin of speech came down to the world. 10 measures of speech came down. Women took. They only left us one. They took 9 for themselves. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there's much more of a chashash that women will speak Lashon Hara about Eretz Yisrael than the men. Because they just get to speak a lot. Tisha kabin, 9 kabin of speech they took. Shlach Lecha, fine. But make sure. Shlach Lecha, Anashim, send the men and not the women. But the Kli Yakar, right after that says another perush. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Moshe, you want to send people? Fine. Shlach Lecha. Anashim? You're sending the men? What were you thinking? The men are the ones who said, Nitna Rosh v'nashuva Mitzrayim, they hated the land. Let's go back to Egypt. In Tehillim, Kuf Dalet Pasuk Chav Gimel, Vayim Asu Be'eretz Chemda, they rejected the beautiful land. The women? They loved Eretz Yisrael. Look at the daughters of Tzlofchad. We want to share with them. What are you sending men? There's much more of a chashash that men will speak Lashon Hara be'Eretz Yisrael than women. Shlach Lecha, fine. Anashim, what are we thinking? Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu to Moshe, if you're asking me, send women, not men. Ve'elu, divrei Elokim chayim. Shlach Lecha, Anashim. What's the word Anashim? Says Rashi, every time you meet the word Anashim, it's Lashon Chashivus. The Meraglim at that time were actually kosher. If they were kosher, what were they thinking saying Lashon Hara be'Eretz Yisrael? It doesn't work. If you're saying Lashon Chashivus, Kol Anashim Shebamika Lashon Chashivus, Oisa Sha'a Ksherim Hayu, they were fine. They were tzaddikim. No, so what went wrong? Says the Chidush Harim, Gewaldik. The Meraglim did it for Klal Yisrael. They did everything L'Tova. The Meraglim looked around and they said, our state right now in the desert is optimal. You're learning Torah from Moshe Rabbeinu. You don't have any tilda. Nothing that you have to worry about. Bread, you have man from Shamayim. With 564 different flavors that you can just think about whatever you want. Water, the world of Miriam. With any type of beverage flavor that you would like. Clothes, you don't have to go shopping. They never wear out. They never tore. They actually grew with them, and the clouds of glory would come and would iron them. So you have 0 tirdos. What's going to happen when we come into the sun? We're going to have to start working in the fields. That means there's no time for learning Torah. And if Moshe Rabbeinu can't come with us, you can't learn Torah from Moshe Rabbeinu. It'd be terrible. So they did what they did, and they endangered their life. And they were the Ma'aseh Moiseh Nefesh for Klal Yisrael. Tzadiki. So what's wrong? What's wrong with that calculation? There's nothing wrong with that calculation. It's Givaldik. It's the Torah. It's for Klal Yisrael. I'm willing to be Moiseh Nefesh for Klal Yisrael. There's only one tiny little problem. tiny. Who asked you to do the cheshbones of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? You're giving eitzes for HaKadosh Baruch to HaKadosh Baruch Hu how to run his world and how to lead his nation? That means you are now Ribbon Shalom yourself, or smarter than him. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't need your eitzes. That's when they went wrong. What's the message to us? This is something many people do. You're going to meet a new client. You're going to the doctor. You're going to take a new pill. HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes sure that the doctor says, it's this, I know how to deal with this. I don't want it to be that thing. I want this pill to work for me. And who says this pill is good for you? Why are you giving eitzes to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I want to have refuah shlema. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if this is good for me, I'd like it to succeed. But don't give him eitzes how to run his world. This is true in Shidduchim. I'm going to meet, this should be the girl. Who says she's for you? Maybe it shouldn't be the girl. If it's the right one, it should go smooth. It should go very quick. But why, who says it's going to be her? And in fact, there's something we say every single day. Seems redundant. A pasuk from Tehillim. Retzon Yereav Yaseh. HaKadosh Baruch Hu fulfills the will of those who fear him. So why are you doubling up? And now you're saying, Ve'es Shavasam Yishma Ve'yoshim. And he will hear their call. You just said that. Retzon Yereav Yaseh means he listens to those who fear him, that's tzaddikim, and he does exactly what they ask. So what do you have to say? Double up. Ve'es Shavasam Yishma Ve'yoshim. He's going to hear them. Shlomo Kluger and others explain. A person is looking for a new apartment. He found this gewaldic apartment. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, make sure that I'm going to bid on this. Make sure that it works out. Person goes on a job interview. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this is my dream. Make sure that I get accepted. He goes on a shidduch date. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this is it. Make sure it works out. Retzon Yereav Yaseh. HaKadosh Baruch Hu listens to those who fear him. Then the guy gets that building, and his neighbors, they're nasty. Ooh, wow. Hell! He gets that new job. The boss, shh. He doesn't stop barking at him. He gets that girl. Oh, you face me. Oh, mommy, get me out of here! When they call unto him, he will listen. Meaning, don't give HaKadosh Baruch Hu eitzes. He doesn't need your eitzes. Daven for Hatzlacha. Daven for Yeshua. But don't give him the exact address how to go about doing that, because the Kodesh Baruch Hu doesn't need you to run his world and to run his nation.
So that's where the Shelachim get crazy, because who's making the decisions?
Should I prove it to you? Should I prove it to you? Not the parents. Shidduchim are all made in heaven. I'll prove it to you. The word Shidduch, Shin, Yud, Daled, Vav, and Chaf. In it is Shin, Daled, and Yud. That's the name of Hashem, Shakai. What's left? Vav and Chaf. 26, Yud, Kei, Vav, Kei, Ribbon Shel Olam. Shidduchim are all made in heaven.
Say that again?
Shidduch, Shin, Yud, Daled, Vav, Chaf. Has the letter inside of Shin and Daled and Yud, Shakai, the name of Hashem. Means he runs the business. And what's left when we take the Shin, Daled, and Yud out? Vav and Chaf. Gematria 26, Yud Kei Vav Kei, that's Hashem. This Esek, Imitz Hashem, should be for our refuah shlema. I'm going to take it already, so let it work for me. Imitz Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, allow this to work. But when you go to a doctor, let him prescribe for me this and this and this, and let him tell me that this and this is, so you're HaKadosh Baruch Hu now. He doesn't need your eitzes. Vayikra Moshe leHoshea bin Nun, Yehoshua. Why? Targum Yonasan. Kad Chama Moshe in Vesanusei Yehoshua. When Moshe saw, wow, this man is so humble. So he davened for him. Ka Yoshiacha me'atza samerak. Because Baruch Hu should save you, not to be a part of that wrong group. I'm going to change your name. What's the connection? Because he's an Anav, he is so humble. We're going to change your name. I mean, it's very nice that he's humble. So anyone who's humble has to have a change. Name. What's the difference? What's the connection?
Change Mazal. Sarah is Sarah, and she has children.
So anyone who's humble should get a name change. What's the connection to humility? Kadchama Moshe Vesanu. Say when Moshe saw that he is humble, he said, you know what, we're going to change your name. Says Or Chadash. Masechet Psochim, in his Hakdama. He writes the following. How old was Yeshua at that time? He's more than 40 years old. He's 42 years old according to most. More than 40 years old. How long do we live for? Yemei Shnoseinu Bahem Shivim Shana. In fact, in Even HaEzer, Siman Kuf Nun Hey, Seif Yud Gimel, we learn that the majority of one's life is 35 in a day. Because if Yemei Shnoseinu Bahem Shivim Shana, if we live for 70 years, the majority is 35 in a day. Yeshua passed that already, right? He's 40. 42. So we have a technical problem. Moshe doesn't need to daven. Yuma, Lamed Ches Amud Beis. Chazal say a promise. Keivan she'avru rov shnoisav shel Adam v'lo ichata shuv eino choyte. When a person passes the majority of his life and he didn't sin, he will not sin again. A special promise from Chazal. Which means, if you're 35 in a day and you're still a tzaddik, there's no need to daven for you. So why is Moshe ben davening for him? No need. The guy's a tzaddik, he's going to remain a tzaddik because Chazal promised something. If you pass the majority of your life, you will not sin again. Yeah. But then Moshe saw, he's so humble. He's so humble. So remember the Gemara in Chagiga Daf Dalet Amud Beis? Malach HaMavis says to his Shaliach, go get me a lady by the name of Miriam. She's over there. He goes and he gets a Miriam. A wrong Miriam. So he took her before her time. So Rabbi Abaye asks Malach HaMavis, so you got some extra years. You took a person before his time, so there's extra years. What do you do with those extra years when there's a mistake like that? There was a mistake. And Malach HaMavis says, we give it to a person who is ma'avir al midoisav, a person who's not medactic with others, a person who is an anav. So Moshe saw, wow, this is a humble person. He's not going to get 70 years. They're going to for sure add more life. Mimele, he didn't necessarily pass the majority of his life, so I have to daven for him. So because he was humble, he has to daven for him, and Mimele, he changes his name. That's one malach. A different malach. Maran Reb Chaim Kanievsky. Lichoira, because he changed his name, he did a disservice to Yeshua. Terrible way he did to him. Because the Mabit, in Beis Elohim writes, you know what the order of events in Tchias HaMeisim, how it's going to be? Aleph Beis. Your last name starts with an Aleph, you rise first. Not last name, because your last name is an invention. Your first name is Aryeh, Avi, Eliyahu, Eliezer, those guys first. Then comes the Baruch, then Gedalia. The guy whose name is, whoever it is, Iltaf, he's last. So Hoshea was the 5th. And now you're demoting him to rise, Tchias HaMeisim, the 10th? The letter Yud? Why'd you do that to him? It's terrible. The answer is in Targum Yonesan, which we quoted. Kadchama Moshe in Vesanuse, when Moshe said he's so humble, he looked in the Mabit again, in Shah Beis Elohim, the Mabit writes. It's true. Aleph Beis Gimel Dalet Tchias HaMeisim, except for the humble people, they rise first. Mimele, he didn't do a disservice to Hoshea, he did him a great toiva. He was supposed to be from the letters of Hey. Now, since anyway he's a humble, forget about the Hey or the Yud, he's going to be one of the first ones. So in other words, he didn't touch the order of events in his Tchias HaMeisim, even though he changed his name and demoted him from Hey to Yud, it's not going to be Nogea. Why? Katchama Moshe in Vesanuisa, because Moshe saw he's so humble, Mimele he's able to change his name, and it's not going to affect the way Tchias HaMeisim will take place for this humble individual. Or Chadash. Agdama to Masechet Pesachim. Yom Lashana Tisu Savonoisechem. A year per day. You in 40 days? You get stuck here for 40 years. Everybody agrees? That's what the pasuk says? Not accurate. They didn't get stuck for 40 years. They got stuck for 40 years minus 15 days. 39 years, 11 months and a half. Why? The pasuk in Yehoshua says they crossed the Jordan River to go into Eretz Yisrael on the 10th of Nisan. When did they leave Mitzrayim? 15th of Nisan. So you're missing 4 days. And anyways, the beginning of Dvarim we learn, Achadasa Yom Mechorev. Anyways, it's a walk of 11 days. That has nothing to do with the punishment. It's going to take you 11 days. So 11 days you're not punished for. 4 days you're missing. That's 15 days that you didn't get stuck in the desert as a punishment, as a result of what you did. So why are you saying Yom Lashana? That's not accurate. Then don't tell me, Ruboy Kechuloi Nazir Men Beis Amud Aleph. Well, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's words are exact. They must be precise. So it's not accurate. Comes Yitzchak's delicacies. It's called Matame Yitzchak. That's what he calls the Sefer. Gewaldig delicacy, mamish. If you're saying Yom Lashana, a year per day, it means every day, which is comprised of 24 hours, is responsible for a full year. You agree with me? 24-hour period is responsible for a year. A year has many months? How many months does a year have? 12. So if you have 24 hours, each hour is responsible for half a month. You have 24 hours responsible for 12 months. That means 24 hours are responsible for 48 half months. Is that correct? Every hour corresponds to 15 days to half a month. Now let's go back to Rashi, which we quoted before. Shelach Lecha anashim. Every anashim b'mikra leshon chashivus. Oisa sha'a ksherim hayu. They were kosher that hour. Oh, that hour they were kosher? That means they're not going to be punished for that hour, which means they are saved from 15 days. Mimele, when the pasuk says Yom Lashana, it's talking about those times, those hours that they were very not kosher. For that, you're going to be punished. But there's no reason to punish them for 15 days, corresponding to the 1 hour that they were kosher. Oisa sha'a ksherim hayu. And a shah, 1 hour, is responsible for 15 days. Mimele. Yom Lashana, except for the kosher hour that we don't have to punish you for. Heraldic. There's a Chacham from Eretz Yisrael, Talmid Chacham, that once came to visit the Chechenov Rebbe, Rebbe Avram of Chechenov. So Rebbe Avram of Chechenov, the Rebbe says to him, I find it something very interesting. Here in Chutz La'aretz, where we live, when a Yid has a problem, he goes to the Rebbe. He gives him a little kvitlach. He writes his problem. He talks to the Rebbe and he's waiting for salvation. I understand you guys in Eretz Yisrael, when you have a problem, you immediately run to Kivrei Tzadikim. Why is that? What's the chiluk between those who live in Chutz La'aretz and those who live in Eretz Yisrael? So Talmid Chacham from Eretz Yisrael says, listen Rebbe, you have to speak in matters of halacha, you have to say halacha. I'll tell you what it is. We find that this already started many, many years ago. Yeshua has a problem. Who does he go to? Moshe Rabbeinu, the Rebbe. Kalev has a problem. He's afraid. Where does he run to? Kivrei Tzadikim, Maras HaMechpelah. He went to Lishtateach al Kivrei Tzadikim, the Lashon of Chazal. So you see, it starts a long, long time ago. And it makes a lot of sense, because Moshe Rabbeinu is in Chutz La'aretz. So you go to the Rebbe. Kalev goes to Kivrei Tzadikim in Eretz Yisrael. So you see the Hanhaga of going to the Rebbe is Hanhaga, that's for Anshe Chutz La'aretz. The Hanhaga of going to Kivrei Tzadikim is going in Eretz Yisrael. But he explains to them, he continues and explains to him, this is all true when you have a Rebbe, Vadai, and you have Kivrei Tzadikim, Vadai. Moshe Rabbeinu is the real deal. He is the Rebbe of Am Yisrael. Those who are buried in Maras HaMachpelah, they are definitely Tzadikim. Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. So he says to him, today, people living in Eretz Yisrael view this whole Rebbe business as a suffix. You don't know the Rebbe, well, it's not Moshe Rabbeinu. But the Kivrei Tzadikim are still the same Tzadikim. So Mimele, when you have a chance, you choose to go to Kivrei Tzadikim, which are the same Tzadikim from before. It's a Vadai and a suffix. When you have a Vadai and a suffix, you go for the certainty, you go for the Vadai, and you leave the suffix. So Chochenov Rebbe says to him, wait a second. If that's the case, it's a suffix de Rabbanon. Because Talmidei Chachamim are called Rabbanon. Suffix de Rabbanon, go lekulam, go to Rebbe. That's how it stays, and that's all. You run to Kivrei Tzadikim, and Chutz La'aretz you go to the Rebbe. Vayashuvu mitu haaretz miketz 40 yom. The Meraglim come back after 40 days. So Rashi on the spot brings the Medrash. How is it possible that they did it in 40 days? The Gemara in Megillah Gimel Amud Aleph says the size of Eretz Yisrael is 400 parsa by 400 parsa. Psochim Tzadi Dalet we learn a person walks, an average guy walks. How many parsas a day? 10. So how you tell me they did 400 parsa by 400 parsa in 40 days? All you can do is one direction. East to west, north to, I don't know how, but you can't do both. 10 parsa a day times 40 is 400 parsa. Boop, time's up, you have to go back. And you're saying they did le'orka u le'rochba. How is it possible? Says Rashi, it must be that somehow HaKadosh Baruch Hu shortened the way for them. It doesn't say the language kafza lehem haderech. It says kitzra lefanehem es haderech. That's what Rashi explains. But many wonder, within those 40 days, Shabbos. A bunch of Shabbos. You want to tell me they walked on Shabbos? So how did they walk on Shabbos 10 parsa, which is 40 mil, which is much more than Tchum Shabbos, no matter according to who? How does it work? Comes the Sefer Sovas Machos. This is a remarkable Chiddush. In Gittin Nun Zayin Amud Aleph we learn that after the destruction of Beis Hamidrash, Klal Yisrael go to Galus. You know what happens to the land? Shrinks and it contracts. And the Gemara says, why is it called deer land? Eretz Tzvi. Just like when the skin of the deer is on it, when it's around, when it's alive, it expands. When it dies, it shrinks. So too this land. When Klal Yisrael is not here, it contracts. When we're there, it expands. And he says, I heard that when he contracted, it diminished to a size of 100 parsa by 100 parsa. Used to be 400 parsa by 400. Then it went down to 100, 100. So he says, it must be the same before we entered the land. Same will apply. As long as we are not there, it's for us. If we're not there, it's the same size as after the destruction when you go to Galus. So man, it's 100 amma by 100 amma, 100 by 100. You take 10 parsa a day times 10. So in 10 days you cover 100 parsa. Another 10 days for another 100 parsa. With length. Now you have to come back. They went back diagonally. Sukkah Daf Ches Amud Aleph. If you have an amma, so diagonal, the Gemara says it's an amma in trei chumshe, in 2/5. What's 2/5 of 10? It's 4. So you have 10 days and another 10 days and another 14 days to come back. Leaves you with 34 and 6 Shabbos is in the middle. Perfect. Ay, 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 ay. If Israel contracted, and it's now only 100 parsa by 100 parsa, and you walk 10 parsa a day, so you walk 10 parsa one direction a day times 10 days, 100 parsa, you cover the whole ground. Then you do the same, the other direction, north, south, east, west, whatever you want to say, Olka, Rochba, with length. So you have 20 days and you cover the whole land, but you have to come back now. You come back diagonally. Sukkah Daf Ches Amud Aleph, the Gemara says, if you have an amma by amma, the diagonal is an amma point 2, an amma and a fifth, which means 2/5. I'm sorry, 4. Right, you're right, 1.4. Which means if you have 10 days to go straight, you take 14 days to come back. 10 plus 10 plus 14 is 34. We said 40 days. Of course, Shabbos, they sat and they ate a chunk. That's one way. Comes the Imre Emes, not the Imes, the Hasidic Imes that we all know, Rabbi Chiel Mechel Goldschlag. And he says, don't tell me that on Shabbos they didn't go. For sure they did. He says it could be that for the sake of Shabbos, kafz alayim haderech on weekdays, which means they intended to walk on Shabbos, and maybe they did. But they didn't go out of the tchum of Shabbos. Because on weekdays they covered much more ground. That's what Rashi means. When it says that kafz alayim haderech, it doesn't mean for every single day. Weekdays it covered the ground that they have to cover for Shabbos. Maybe on Shabbos they didn't have to violate Shabbos. Great. Comes at Tzemach David and says, they did walk on Shabbos. Your regular Eser Pasa. Why? Because when the Kodesh Baruch Hu tells you to walk, it's not a mitzvah. The Kodesh Baruch Hu says to eat chazir because it's a pekuach nefesh, and the doctor says, so you have the mitzvah to eat the chazir. They had a mitzvah from Ribbon Shalom to walk, and therefore they walked. With that, he explains. When Yeshua and Caleb start speaking, what's the reaction of the people? They wanted to stone them. Only Yeshua and Caleb. Why do you want to stone them from all the things in the world? Because the Meraglim said, this is a dangerous place. We were in a sakana. We had to walk on Shabbos. Oh, it's not a violation of Shabbos. Yeshua and Caleb says, no, it's a great place. You kidding me? South Silam, don't worry, don't be afraid. It's a great place, which means it's not dangerous. It's not dangerous, so how come you walked on Shabbos? Oh, you violated Shabbos! Lirgom oisem be'avanim skila for Michalel Shabbos. Don't be afraid, you shall go. You're afraid, so how come you walked on Shabbos? Chalel Shabbos, chayav skila.
Can't we learn that they were allowed to walk on Shabbos from the halacha that you're allowed to buy portion edges, allowed to buy property and sign a contract on Shabbos?
You're sending us the Git in Daf Ches. Over there we learn that you're allowed to ask a goy to write for you. Ad Rabbanon, we don't do Ad Oraisa in order to buy property on Shabbos. And you're not buying any property right now. You're just touring the land. Big difference. Ha'amek Davar has a big Chiddush. He diffuses the whole question of Rashi. And he says, really, they didn't all go together. You're right, you sent 12 people, but they didn't all go together. They were divided in groups of 2. 2 went this direction, 2 went here, 2 went here, 2 went here, and they covered the whole ground with 40 days, no problem. That's his ma'alach. I think in a different way. Based on Hadal Zkenim al HaTorah. Hadal Zkenim is Balei HaTosfos. And they bring a medrash. Omar Rabbi Yochanan. You know what the height of the Meraglim was? They weren't average people. We said the Gemara in Psochim Tzadi Dalet says, an average person walks 10 parsa a day. They were not average. Each one of them was 60 amma. Eluvin Mem Ches Amud Aleph, we learned that a normal person is, an average person, 3 amos. They're not normal. They're 20 times the size of a regular guy. If you're 20 times the size, your stride is much bigger than a regular guy. So if a regular guy walks 10 parsa a day, you're walking, I don't know if you have to multiply it by 20. Don't know. But definitely not 10 parsa. You walk much more than that. And there's no problem to cover the whole ground with 40 days. You can just now imagine what it means when the Meraglim come back and they say, you know what we saw there? Giants! You're saying giants? And they said about themselves, we were like ants, like grasshoppers in their eyes. Do you understand the size of the real giants that they saw? If they themselves are 60 amma tall? Shh, you can only imagine. Baruch Hashem was mechaven. Vayotziu dibas haaretz. Lo shona rabayat etzol. You know what type of land this is? Eretz ocheles yoshvei. People are dying left and right. They're right. But why did they die? It's a toiva. Rashi brings some chazal. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made sure a lot of people die, so they're going to be involved in a lot of funerals, so they're not going to see these guys touring the land. Which brings us to ask the Shaila. There was an Eino Yehudi who passed away. He asked that his body should go to medical school for research, and after they finish, cremation. A Yid is asking, can I be the one executing his will? Can I cremate the body of an Eino Yehudi? Why not? Shh. It's your body to destroy?
He's dead.
Even if he's an Ochri. What about a Yid? No. Who told you? What's the difference? Why are you saying no? Because it doesn't belong to you. So the Eino Yehudi's body also doesn't belong to him. What's the chiluk?
Also, Yefet was granted Kvora, right? So also the non-Jews shed heavily.
At that point, there are no Jews in the world.
Sorry?
At that point, there are no Jews in the world. They're all called Bnei Noach, including Yefet. Bnei Noach means 7 mitzvahs Bnei Noach. There is no Torah that's going to give you 613. You're allowed to cremate a Nochri's body or not.
You requested it?
What's that?
You
You requested it.
So what's the question about his body? Are you going also have an obligation not to destroy the body?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking. I think, based on what somebody's saying here, you're not allowed to cremate a body of a Yid. Sounds right. Don't know why. Sounds right. But what about an Eino Yehudi?
It's still B'Tselem Elokim.
It's still B'Tselem Elokim. He wasn't created in the image of God. That's regarding a person, a Yid who was hung. But the same logic applies.
If it's because it's B'Tselem Elokim.
So what's the difference?
No, it's not part of Shah Mitzvah B'nai Noach. Why would it be?
It's not part of Sheh Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. But that's for him to cremate his friend. I'm talking about me. Can I do it to him? I don't have to listen to the 7 mitzvahs B'nai Noach. I have to listen to 613 that I got.
Not a problem.
Not a problem. Anyone begs to differ?
We're certain.
You said absolutely not. Tzedem Elokim.
We're certain 1,000,000% he's a non-Jew. There's no suffix that he...
Lemehadrin midioraisa midirabanan. With all the hidurim. We're all good with this? Who says no? You said no? So that's Mishnah Rishona, that's Mishnah Achroina, they're retracting? Ad Shevua Shlishi, from within you. Mechia B'neim. Nechezei Anan, let's see. First about a Yid's body. That's an Isur Gamo. The reason is, the Beis Yitzchak writes, one who does so transgresses the Isur Aseh and a Lot Aseh. Because the end of Tmura, Lamed Daled Amud Aleph, we learn, Kol HaNikbarin Lo Yisafu. When it was buried, is not allowed to be burnt. So Lot Aseh. And when you do bury, you show you believe in Tchias HaMeisim. And when you don't, he calls it, you're like a heretic. You said, there's not going to be Tchias HaMeisim anyways. So why do I have to put him 6 feet under? Koifer b'Tchias HaMeisim. Terrible. The Achiezer and the Meshech Chochmah both add that there's an issue here that you're mevatel a positive mitzvah of kvua. There's a mitzvah to bury. In the same pasuk you said over there, don't leave him hanging, because you have to bury him. It's a mitzvah's esed to bury an individual. And when you don't do it, you nullify an aseh. So you have both a lois aseh and an esed. That's very good for a body of a yid. But what about an angel? The whole reason that we bury Goyim, that we will bury him, is because Darkei Shalom. Gitin Samech Aleph, Amud Aleph, the Gemara says, Koivrin Meisei Noichrim Im Meisei Yisrael Mishum Darkei Shalom, only because of Darkei Shalom. So there's no positive mitzvah to go and bury them. If there's no mitzvah to bury them, what's the problem to cremate the body? Baba Basra, Chav Beis Amud Aleph, the Gemara says, Ko Amar Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, Al Shloisha Pish'ei Moav Ve'al Arba Lo Ashivenu. Moav did terrible things among them. Al Sarfu Atzamos Melech Edom Lasid. They burnt the bones of the king of Edom. Rashi over there explains, Sarfu Machmas Bizayon. It's a degradation. Which means, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says no good. He wasn't so Jewish, the Melech of Edom. It sounds no good at all. And over there, Rav Yosef says to Rav Dimi of Naharda that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will punish those who burnt the bones of Melech Edom. So even though he's an Edomi, he's an Edomite, it seems that you're not allowed to burn the body of an Eno Yehudi. But we have to reject this for a few reasons. First of all, the king of Edom maybe didn't want it. Who says he wanted it? So disgrace because he didn't want it. Second of all, on that pasuk itself that the Gemara quotes and learns from, which appears in Amos, Perek Beis, pasuk Aleph. Rashi over there says, you know what they did? Rashi explains, once the king of Sodom fell in the hands of the king of Moab, and they burnt his bones and took the ashes and put it in the wall. And it seems from Rashi, that's the bizayon, not the burning. What did you do with his ashes? Instead of putting it in the mantle in his grandson's, do something nice with it. They plugged it in the wall at the disgrace. And third of all, it could be that it's a disgrace because he's a king. He's a king, you're burning his bones, but who says this will apply to a regular guy? Maybe we can't use it. Shulchan Aruch, Yoredea, Shin Mem Tes, Seif Aleph, Biur Hagra, Noise Kedim over there, have a big machlokes. Is an Eino Yehudi body, after he dies, Asu Behana or not? Shulchan Aruch seems to say no. The Gaon Avinu seems to say yes, and many others seem to say yes. So it could be though, that if the goy is asking for it, even according to the opinion that you're not allowed to, you'll be allowed to. There's no Darkei Shalom, because he's asking for it. You're not going to get anyone upset. There's no Hana, and there is no nullifying of a mitzvah esed because you don't have a mitzvah esed to bury him. Rebbe Yoshev Zatzal was asked, some Einam Yehudim came to this Jewish fellow who had an area that he wanted to rent the place from him to open up a crematorium. Can I rent it for them? Shulchan Aruch seems to say it's not such a good idea. Also, Be'ana, how does it work? Rebbe Yoshev says, since there are many who argue with the Shulchan Aruch, and there is no, you can rely on this opinion that the Eino Yehudi after his demise is Mutar Be'ana, and Mimela you'll be allowed to rent it out. I'm not doing actually anything, I'm just renting out a facility. You'll decide to do whatever you want with it. I don't think it's even a grama. Mimela Rebbe Yoshev said it's Mutar. I once asked Mori Rabbi Reb Nebenzahl Shlita, There's a ger whose name is Reuven, and his father died. Father is still an Eino Yehudi. He left in the will that he asked to be cremated. His son is asking, do I need to persuade my father, Daddy, don't do this. He's writing in the will, this is what I want. Now he's very sick, he's about to die. Do I have to go and say, Daddy, I saw the will? No. He's asking him to burn his body. Nemtzel says to him, he doesn't have to convince his father. So I asked him, can they do it lechatchila? Can the Einam Yehudim do it lechatchila? Just tell me, yeah. Lechatchila. So he agrees with many of you here, or maybe you agree with him, that lechatchila, you can do so. They can do so. Slachna le'avo na'am hazeh. Slachna talks about slicha or mechila, and we say it every single day in Tachanun. Riddle of the day. First riddle of the day. When is there a day on the calendar? Only one day a year. That in Eretz Yisrael, we will say Tachanun, and Chutz La'aretz, they won't say Tachanun, it's only one day a year. So don't tell me Yom Tov Sheni. Because Yom Tov Sheni, anyways, no one says Tachanun. In Chutz La'aretz, it's Yom Tov, here it's an Isuchag. And it's more than one day a year. There's only one day a year. That in Eretz Yisrael, we say Tachanun, in Chutz La'aretz, they don't. When did this happen?
After Sukkot.
After Sukkot, many have the minhag not to say until the end of Tishrei. Or right after Sukkot.
But it's not Isuchag.
Why not? When it's Yontif for them, it's Isuchag for us. One day a year. And if you're right, so it should apply on Shavuos, it should apply on Pesach as well. Same idea.
Does this happen every year?
Every single year.
8 days after Shavuos.
Not 8-6, Gewaldig. Yud Gimel Sivan last week. Why? Most places, many places, I think most places, have the minhag that they don't say Tachanun for 6 days after Shavuos because it's Yemei Tashlumin, time of Beis Hamidrash. If you didn't bring a korban, you have 6 days to bring a korban. Eretz Yisrael, 1 day Shavuos, 6 days, Yud Beis Sivan, it's over. Yud Gimel Sivan, you say Tachanun. But in Chutz La'aretz, since they have 2 days of Yontif, they count another 6 days after that. Comes out that Yud Gimel Sivan, when we are already saying Tachanun, they don't say Tachanun, you get 2 points. You did so good on this riddle. Be careful if you don't know the answer. I'm taking those 2 points from you for the next riddle. You know what? We'll keep the riddle for... Remember, when we get to the next riddle. Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim, Taf Kuf Pei, Seif Cotton Beis, the Magen Avraham says, the Shulchan Aruch himself says, the Magen Avraham explains, Shulchan Aruch himself says that it's the right thing to fast on certain days on the calendar. One of them is 17th of Elul. Yud Zayin Elul is a fast day. Do you ever fast on Yud Zayin Elul? I think most people don't. The Shulchan Aruch says you do. What happened Yud Zayin Elul? The Meraglim died! Oi! Meraglim died! Let's all fast. Meraglim die and you should fast? Asks the Magen Avraham. Don't we learn? Uva'avod reshaim reina? Rejoice! Wicked ones are no longer here. So you have to fast. The Magen Avraham brings in the name of the Beis Yosef. We assume that the Meraglim 5 minutes before they died, they did tshuva. But the tshuva was not accepted. So this fast comes to awaken us. Don't wait until the last second when the Kodesh Baruch Hu says, sorry, it's too late. Do tshuva before. This fast, yes, they were Rashai, but it's not for them, it's for us. To remind us about the Koyach HaTshuva that it works when you do it in the right time. And don't wait until it's too late. That's the Beis Yosef explains. The Magen Avraham brings in the name of the Shla Kodesh, that the Meraglim were tzaddikim. Mi says tzaddikim. When a tzaddik dies, you have to fast. Chiddush. Since we're on the fast, topic of the fast, now comes the riddle. Not to be believed. When is it that a goy comes to us and we will instruct him, you should fast? Is it one of the 7 mitzvahs of Noach? No. It's not a guy wanting to convert, so he says, maybe I should fast on Yom Kippur with you. It's not one of the 6 days of the calendar that we fast. It's not our fasts. A regular day in the middle of the year. And it's not only strange up to here, it becomes strangest possible fast in the world. Because this fast can end at 10 o'clock in the morning. Or 1:46 p.m., maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon, much before Shkia. And it can also be the longest fast in the world. Shortest fast or longest fast None of the days that we fast. And we will instruct a goy to fast? When does this happen? Not for a medical reason. He's healthy. Not because he made a neder or anything like that. No, you should fast. What about those 2 points from before? Pile ploi. My boy said, what do you say? Can it be such a thing?
What was the answer? I didn't hear.
We didn't say the answer yet.
Oh, I see.
There's no things like bad dreams for going fast. Nothing like this.
Bad dream? Let him sleep again. Maybe this time he'll get a good dream. I'll tell him to fast. We don't even fast. For those fasts that are mentioned in the Shulchan Aruch that one should fast, we don't do it today. Chazoni said back then, they were great people, and they told him, give messages from Shemaim. We're not so great. They're not giving us any message from Shemaim. It's because of something you thought about, something you ate, the climate. So Gemara and Vachos Nun Hein Nun Vav.
Is it dying?
The goy is a dayan? Maybe he's a judge, not a dayan.
A judge.
A judge, and therefore you should fast.
Before he dies in the nefashos?
Sheva mitzvahs b'nei Noach include fasting for a dayan before he done dim nefashos. That's a tremendous chiddush. I'm taking 4 points from you, not 2.
They have dinim, right? One of the Sheva mitzvahs.
Dinim, yes. Fasting, no?
Dinim is a fast.
If he's going to fast, he's going to be more confused and more aggravated. He won't be able to judge a fair trial. I'm learning it Kal Vachomer from Shulchan Aruch. I think in Taf Kuf Samech Aleph, Shulchan Aruch says that a melamed, Tinoikis, should not fast. Not talking about the fast that we have to fast. He wants to take a fast day for a kapara. Don't. You'll be aggravated the whole day. Kids don't want a melamed who's angry at them. It's not shaykh. So a dayan din in the fashos. Tshuvos ve'anagos. The Moshe Shtelmuch, Chelek Beis, and Simen Tavkuf Vav brings from the 3-day Esh. 3-day Esh, Rabbi Weinberg. There's a minhag that the goy, on the day that he converts, fasts. Chidish. So Tshuvos ve'anagos says, you should fast if you want to do this minhag, fine. But only until the time you go to the mikveh, which means if it's at 10 o'clock, stop at 10 o'clock. If it's at 1:43, whatever I said before, 3:43 or 3:12, stop then. Because then it becomes like a yom of a Kabbalah Satoya. You're standing on Har Sinai. And then it becomes a festive that it's a yom for you. You better go eat. So that's the first part of the answer. When will we instruct him to fast? There's a minhag that he fasts on the day that he converts. When is it the shortest fast? When he went to the mikveh at 1 p.m. So it stops at 1 p.m. When does it become the longest fast in the world? One of the most important svarim about halachos of bris milah is called Klalei HaGoizer. It's from Reb Gershom HaGoizer, the Rishonim. It's from the same generation as the Rokeach, Reb Elazar of Gamaiza, and he's also from Gamaiza. And he writes Advar Pele. A woman who converts should fast for 40 days before her conversion, except Shabbos. If Shabbos is Rebbetzin, you don't have to fast, you can eat. Also, every night you can eat. But otherwise, 40 days before, that's the longest fast. This is not practiced today. I think no one in his right mind will convert, especially if he's a woman. And we tell him, yeah, you convert, sure, for 40 days, eh? So, this minhag, for some reason, I don't know why, is not practiced today, but that's the answer to our question. Tzitzis, the end of the parsha. Chidush Pele from the Chassam Sofer. Rabbeinu Chassam Sofer in Drosha Chassam Sofer says, we always assume the mitzvah of tzitzis is a mitzvah kiyumis, not chiyuvis. What's the difference? This morning, we had to put on tefillin because the Kodesh Baruch Hu says, weekdays, you better put on tefillin. It's a mitzvah chiyuvis. No questions asked. It's not up to you. Sunday morning, we're going to have to do that again, whether you like it or not. There's another mitzvah deoraisa, mitzvah esed deoraisa. It's called tzedakah. It's not a mitzvah chiyuvis. If you see an ani, you give him money. You don't have to go looking for him. You can sit at home and not see any anim. Otherwise, what are we all doing here? Get out and start looking for it. It's not a mitzvah chiyuv. It's not obligatory. It's a mitzvah kiyumit. If you do it, you get a check in the mail. The same applies to mitzvah tzitzis. You can live your whole life, technically speaking, without wearing a 4-corner garment and never put on tzitzis. So it's a mitzvah kiyumis. If you fulfill it, you get a bonus, but it's not a mitzvah chiyuvis. Says Chassam Sofer, you're right, in Eretz Yisrael. The Chassam Sofer says in Chutz La'aretz, the mitzvah of tzitzis is a mitzvah chiyuvis. It's an obligatory type of a mitzvah, and that's a chidush from the land of chidushim. Just before tzitzis, we learn about the mekoishesh. What did mekoishesh do wrong? Mekoishesh. He gathered wood on Shabbos. What was he thinking? He is one of the people that we spoke before. That learned story from Moshe Rabbeinu. Everybody's from around him. What went wrong?
You said you wanted to give an example of something.
That's Tosis Ba'abas Akufi Tesamud Beis, I think. But we're not going with Tosis now. We're going another Rishon. Kolbo. Shulchan Aruch in Shin Aleph, Seif Tesvav, the Rema says, a person should not walk out of his house on Shabbos as he does on weekdays. Unless he wears something that with that he's going to remember, oh, it's Shabbos today. So he's not going to chas v'shalom do Chilul Shabbos. Where does the Rema bring it? From the Kolbo. Kolbo is one of the Rishonim. And the Kolbo in Simin Lamed Aleph writes, he brings from the Rosh, Minhag Kol Yisrael, the minhag of all Klal Yisrael, wherever they are, is not to go on Shabbos without shoes, not to go out, or without a talis, or without a glima, in other words, your jacket. The reason to remember today is a Yom Shabbos Kodosh Le'Elokenu, and you should not come to desecrate it. And this was the mistake of the Mekoishesh. He forgot his Shabbos hat. The Mekoishesh did not wear his Shabbos jacket, so he thought it's a Monday. Maybe it's a Friday or a Sunday. And because of that, he said, oh, I have some wood here, let me gather it. And that is why the parasha of Mekoishesh is right next to the parasha of Tzitzis. To tell you, make sure you go with your Shabbos talis out, your Shabbos jacket. Otherwise, chas v'sholom, you can become like the Mekoishesh and make a big mistake and think it's a weekday and make a mistake. Meaning, what's that? And we want people to mistakenly violate Shabbos? Moshe Rabbeinu didn't know what to do with him. He violated Shabbos. Especially if you say what the Tosis says. The Tosis says that it is for Klal Yisrael. To tell him, it's not a joke what Moshe is promising you. Chilul Shabbos is skila. Here, I'll show you. I'll be Moshe Nefesh, like the Meraglim before that we said. For Klal Yisrael is Toiva. If that's the case, it's a melacha she'ena tzricha legufa. So why is he punished? But when HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Leman yiru v'yirau, apparently that's the right thing to do. But lichor, it's a melacha she'ena tzricha legufa. It's a shoygig. Kolbo says from the Rosh, he forgot his Shabbos hat. You're walking on Shabbos without your Shabbos jacket on? What's wrong with you? And maybe that part is amazing. Piskei Tshuvos brings from Sifrei, all kinds of Sforim Tzadikim, that there's a minhag that people make sure that on their Shabbos jacket and pants, they don't have pockets. Because if I have pockets, maybe I'll put in something when I'm in the house, and then I'll go outside and I'll carry when there's no Eruv. So one who does that is definitely fulfilling Behidu. The Rema and the Kolbo make sure your clothing is different on Shabbos than on weekdays, and this way you won't come to desecrate Shabbos.
Quick question going back a little bit. When you burn, if you buy, or you're allowed to burn a guy that you buy, was there any questions on the Nuremberg trial when they burned, when they hung, they hung the people in the Nuremberg trial after World War II? What did they do with those bodies? They burned them?
Why do we care? The question was for a Yid. Can a Yid do it? What they decide to do with themselves?
It was in his, no. We're the ones that hung them. Or we're hung them up. What do we do with those bodies?
We are the ones who hung them? But are we the ones who hung them?
Yeah. It was done. The trial was here. The trial was out of Israel.
Eichmann.
It was out of Israel.
It's not our problem. It's their problem. What they want to do with him. There was a city in Europe which was a beach town with hot springs, like a very popular vacation spot. And a lot of Jews used to go there in the summertime. A very chashuv Arav came there once, came to the shul, and he saw shachris. Very few people wearing talis. Most of the people were without talis and shachris. So he came on the bima and he asked permission to speak. And he said, I want to tell you something. Shabbos, he mentioned the city that he came from, a city that most of these guys come from to visit this popular spot. And he says, I was just there last week and I went to visit someone. I knocked on the door and they told me he's not home. So I'm about to leave and suddenly I hear crying and crying and crying. I said, what's wrong? Why? I have to help. It's terrible. So I walked in and I went to this room and the room was empty. There was just a talis bag hanging on the wall and I get close and the talis is crying. He said, Talis, why are you crying? What's wrong? He said, how can I not cry? My bale boss, he left, he went on vacation. And he took all his silver, he took all his gold, he took everything with him. big suitcases. The only thing you didn't take is me. How can I not cry? So he said, I told that Talis, you don't have to cry. Soon there will be a day that your owner, the balabos, he's going to go on a much further away journey. And he's not going to take any silver, any gold. He's going to leave everything here. He's only going to take you. Because the minhag in Chutz La'aretz is to wrap the body of a person with his talis. Everybody having shachis here? So you already lied this morning once. Well, good, Baruch Hashem, tzaddikim. What bracha did you say before you put the talis? Asher kitshanu b'mitzvoisa v'tzivanu to do what? What about tzitzis? Where exactly did the Kodesh Baruch Hu commanded you to wrap yourself with talis? Asher kitshanu, so said fine. He sanctifies us when he gave his mitzvahs. You're saying v'tzivanu? Tzivanu on what? HaKadosh Baruch Hu never commanded you. As we said before, technically speaking, you can go throughout your whole life, 120 years plus, and never put on a tzitzis if you don't have a four-corner garment. So who told you to go and wrap yourself with the talis? Tzivanu, I'm commanded. You're not?
And that lisantif also doesn't take lisantif.
Nobody told you to wrap yourself with a talis. Did anyone tell you to do this? If you want to do it, this is the way it has to be done. But you're saying, I'm commanded to do this. No, you're not.
If you want to do it, then there's a tzit like shchita that says we don't have to.
Ay! Gewaldig. You combined now two terutzim. Gewaldig. This is a shal, not mine, shal of the Ozarua. It's one of the Rishonim. The Ozarua offers two terutzim. He says, since midirabanan, there's an obligation to put it every single morning. Therefore, you can't say Vetzivanu because we even say Vetzivanu on mitzvos derabanan. He proves it from a Gemore. Sukkah Memvav Dalef, the Gemore asks, how can we say Vetzivanu an Ner Chanukah? Who told you? It's a mitzvah derabanan. Kodesh Baruch Hu didn't. The Gemara says, since the Torah itself says Lo Yisasu, don't deviate to the right or to the left from anything that Chachamim tell you. So Kodesh Baruch Hu commanded you to light the Ner Chanukah. So Kodesh Baruch Hu commanded you as well to put on the talis. Or the Gemara says a different source, Lo Yisasu is one, or Sh'al Avicha ve'yagedcha zkenecha ve'yom mulach, you have to listen to the Chachamim. So we made it even for a mitzvah derabanan, one is able to say Vetzivanu. More, he says, since the minhag is to wrap yourself, it becomes like Ma'ariv. Ma'ariv is Rishus. But since we all accepted it on ourselves as a choiva, it becomes an obligation. So much so that you can even say a bracha, Shekishanu Misos Vetzivanu. Tvuos Shol and Shal Shivas Gur Arye Yehuda, they both say, since in Menachos Memalef we learn, Be'idna deritcha ma'anishin aleya, the Malach taught Rav Ktina. In the time of wrath of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they even punish for nullifying a mitzvah's essay. Normally, when a person transgresses a lo yisaseh, he gets a patch. If he just nullifies an essay, he just doesn't do, he's passive, he just doesn't do something he has to do, some things, lichoira, we spoke about it in the past, don't entail punishment. The Maharal says, mitzvah's lo yisaseh is the b'china of yira. Don't do this! If you do, mitzvah's essay, positive mitzvah, is a b'china of ahava. It's a chance to get close to Ribbon Shalom, to enhance our connection. So you don't want that? That's so sad. It's a shame. I would like to have a much more intense relationship with you. You don't want it? What can I do? Fine. But at the time of a wrath of a Kodesh Baruch Hu, they do punish. Mimele, since they do punish, Mimele, it becomes like it's mechuyav. You're obligated because you never know when the time of wrath of a Kodesh Baruch Hu will be and what he will punish for. Mimele, you can say Vetzivanu, even to wrap yourself, so much so you can even say this bracha to be moitzi your friend. Mamashi becomes like an obligation. Das Torah, and that is your answer. That's the Ma'asham. And the Emek Shaila on the Sheiltos, they both say, based on the Rosh. The Rosh says, regarding Shchita. Are you commanded to shecht and eat? No. The mitzvah of Shchita is called a matir. If you would like to eat, go ahead and shecht. So how come you say a bracha? Why do you say a bracha? Asher Kishem Tzivanu? Who commanded you? Nobody commanded you. So he says, just like for the shchita, you're able to say, the same thing will apply about the tzitzis, because the Torah writes in a language of, go and do it. What does it say about shchita? V'zavachta ve'achalta. It's a positive commandment, it sounds like. V'zavachta, go do it. What did it say about tzitzis? Ve'asu la'em tzitzis. It's the same formulation. Just like by shchita you can do it, even though technically speaking you're not commanded, so too by tzitzis you can do it without being commanded. The Das Torah does comment, he says, there's a small chiluk here. What's the formulation for the bracha of shchita? Asher kichanu b'mitzvoisa v'tzivanu anei mitzvah called al hashchita. What's the mitzvah over here? Asher kichanu b'mitzvah v'tzivanu lehisatef. HaKadosh Baruch Hu commanded me to wrap myself, he didn't. L'choira, it should be al ha-mitzvah called tzitzis, not al lehisatef, a comment of the Das Torah to make a chiluk between shchita and tzitzis. Rabbi Tzalev Volozhin, Rabbi Tzok of Volozhin, the son of Reb Chaim Volozhin, once went to a meeting with all the ministers. They wanted to go against Klal Yisrael and everything that's holy. And there was the Russian education minister over there who despised Jews, and especially Rabbi Tzalev Volozhin. So when he saw him, he started laughing. He says, why do you have such long strings? Why do you have, you're almost cleaning the floors with him. Why do they have to be so long? There's another fellow here, Jewish like you. His name is Dr. Lidentil. And this doctor has it's just like you. Nice short strings. Why does yours have to be so long? So Rabbi Tzak Volozhin says, listen, the Torah says, U'isem oisoi, should see the tzitzis, u'zechartem, this is going to bring you to remember all the mitzvahs. This doctor, Dr. Lindenthal, has a tremendous memory. His memory is unbelievable. So he needs short strings, and he can remind them all the 613. I'm just a Pasha Dahir, the very average guy. I don't have such a strong memory. I have to have long strings to remember all the mitzvahs. Ve'lo yisasuru. The Abba side, the summer is fast approaching. Ve'lo yisasuru. Don't stray. After your eyes. Shmiras ha'einayim. There's a pasuk that appears in Tehillim. Kuf Gimel, pasuk Chaf. Baruch Hashem kol malachav. Giboy rekoyach, oisei devaroi. Lishmoya bekoel dvaroi. The Gemara in Kiddushin Mem Amud Aleph downsins this pasuk. Who are these Giboy rekoyach, oisei dvaroi? Those are people like Rabbi Tzadok and Rav Kahana. The Gemara mentions different maisim over there that they were trying to be seduced to Advar Avera, but they overcame the Yetzer, and they won. Giboy rekoyach, mighty ones, those who listen to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but there is a built-in problem in the order of this pasuk. If we're writing this pasuk, we should say, Lishmoya bekol dvaro, you hear HaKadosh Baruch Hu what he wants from you, and then you become a Giboy rekoyach oisei dvaro. First you listen, then you say, then you do. It's the Shal of the Radak. And the Radak says this is like a wink of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, a gift to Klal Yisrael, the way he formulated this pasuk, because we are the ones who started flipping the order. When we said, Naaseh v'nishma, first we will do, then we will listen. First we're committing 100%. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, oh yeah? So I'm talking to you in the same language. Giboy rekoach, oisei dvaro, lishmoya bekol dvaroi. That's what the Radak says. Comes Dama Harsho, over there in Kiddushin Mem. And he says, you're right that you have a shaila about the order of this pasuk if you're talking about the same person. We assume we're talking about the tzaddikim. They're giboy rekoyach, oisei dvaro. They do HaKadosh Baruch Hu's will. And then they listen. So you should first say, listen, and then do. Says the Maharsha, it's not talking about the same people. Giboy rekoyach, oisei dvaro are the tzaddikim who listen to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who fight their Yetzer Hara. Who is lishmoya bekol dvaroi? That's the malachim that are discussed at the beginning of the pasuk. Baruch Hu malachav, who are the malachim? HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, look at my tzaddikim. They do what I want. So you should listen to what they want. Giboy rekoyach, oisei dvaro, you know what they merit? When you conquer your Yetzer, lishmoya bekol dvaro, whatever you ask for will be granted. And the Maharsha says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu commands the malachim, listen to his tefillah, fulfill miracles for this person, save him from all damaging agents and from all other tzaros. For what? For conquering his Yetzer. Baruch Hu Hashem malachav. The malachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu turns to them, Baruch Hu, bless, who? The middle of the pasuk, Giboy rekoyach, the Giborim, the mighty ones, the tzaddikim, that do HaKadosh Baruch Hu's will. Giboy rekoyach, oisei dvaroi. What should we bless him with? Ask the malachim to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he responds, Lishmoya bekol dvaro. Listen to whatever that tzaddik asks. Who's that tzaddik? The tzaddik that conquers his Yetzer. Lo yisasu, we say it twice every single day. This applies even in the winter and spring. And now the summer comes! Yishmoya bekal dvora, and Mirz Hashem, we should be from those tzaddikim that HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends the malachim to fulfill our will, to perform miracles for us, and to save us from any harm, which Shabbos always say.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.